So, you found your way back. Good. Look toward the light tonight, not the corners. It is time for chapter 48. Most people who see a shadow in the corner of their bedroom that does not belong to anything in the room tell themselves it is a trick of the light. They turn away. They go to sleep. They tell themselves it will be gone in the morning. She told herself the same thing. For 3 weeks, she told herself exactly that, until the night she woke at 2 in the morning and the shadow was no longer in the corner. It was standing beside her bed, close enough that if she had reached out her hand, she would have touched whatever was casting it. She did not reach out her hand. A woman first noticed the shadow in the corner of her bedroom on a Wednesday evening in early autumn. She was getting ready for bed when she became aware of it, the far left corner of the room, a shadow that was darker than the surrounding darkness of the unlit corner in a way that suggested a shape. She looked around the room to identify what might be casting it. Nothing corresponded. The furniture was where it always was. The light source was behind her. Nothing in the room should have produced a shadow of that shape in that corner. She told herself she was tired, that the particular quality of autumn evening light was doing something unusual. She got into bed and turned off the lamp. When she woke in the night, the corner was dark and ordinary. She did not think about it again, until the following evening when it was there again. She began paying attention to it systematically after the 3rd evening, noting its shape, its position, the exact corner it occupied. It was always the same, present each evening in the hour before she went to bed. She tried to photograph it. The photograph showed the corner, dark, empty, nothing that corresponded to what she could see with her own eyes. She tried changing the lighting, moving lamps. Nothing changed it. The shadow remained in the same corner, the same shape, with the patient consistency of something that had decided where it wanted to be and saw no reason to move, until the night it did. If these stories find their way to you, if you feel drawn back to this quiet room again and again, there is a place for you here. Others have found it. Perhaps you will tell them you did too. She woke at some point in the early hours of the morning, not from a sound, just the particular alertness of someone whose sleeping mind has registered something that requires the waking mind's attention. She lay still for a moment and let her eyes adjust to the dark. She looked toward the far left corner. It was empty, the ordinary darkness of an unlit corner. She felt a brief relief. Then she became aware of something at the edge of her vision, to her right, close. She turned her head slowly. The shadow was standing beside her bed, the same shape she had been observing in the corner for weeks, no longer across the room, standing beside the bed, close enough to reach out to, if she had wanted to. She did not move. She lay in her bed and looked at the shadow standing beside it and breathed as carefully as she could and waited. It did not move either. It simply stood beside the bed with the same patient stillness it had always had in the corner, as though moving from the corner to beside the bed had not been an approach, but simply a relocation, a decision to be in a different part of the room for a while. She lay and looked at it for what felt like a very long time, then closed her eyes. When she opened them again, the shadow was back in the corner. She was not sure how much time had passed. She got up and turned on every light in the apartment and did not sleep again until morning. She moved her bed to the other room that week. The shadow did not follow. It remained in the far left corner of the original bedroom. She could see it through the open doorway when the light was right. Still there, still the same shape, still in its corner, as though it had made its point and was content to return to its original position. She lived in that apartment for another year. She kept the door to the original bedroom closed most of the time. On the occasions when she opened it, the shadow was always there, patient, unchanged, in its corner, waiting with the particular stillness of something that has established its presence and no longer needs to demonstrate it. She told me that what disturbed her most looking back was not the night it stood beside her bed. It was the question she could never answer about that night, whether it had simply been curious, whether it had wanted to see her more closely, or whether it had been there beside her bed on other nights as well, and that particular night had simply been the first time she had woken to see it. She said she preferred not to think about that possibility too carefully, and I understand that instinct completely. Some questions are better left as questions, some corners are better left unexamined, and some shadows, once you have acknowledged that they are there, are better left to whatever they do in the dark, without further investigation. If you have a shadow in the corner of your room that does not correspond to anything casting it, I would suggest leaving the light on when you sleep, not because darkness makes it worse, but because light at least allows you to see clearly when it decides to move. And here is the thought I cannot quite set aside. The woman moved her bed to another room. The shadow stayed in its corner. Patient, unchanged, it had made its point. It did not need to make it again, which suggests that whatever moved from the corner to beside the bed that night understood something about the limits of what she could tolerate and chose to stay within them. That is not the behavior of something mindless. That is the behavior of something that was paying very close attention. If this story stayed with you, if the dark or the shadow feels a little closer tonight, you know where to find me. I am always here beside the kotatsu, watching, waiting, and if you wish others to find their way here too, I would not object.